Most traders don't fail because they don't have enough information. They fail because they don't know how to deal with the brutal truth. The truth is cold, silent, and merciless. It doesn't care how many books you've read, what indicators you trust, or how many hours you've spent studying charts. If you cannot control yourself when the market tests you, the market will wipe you out without hesitation. No warning, no sympathy, just elimination. The market does not care who you are. It doesn't care if you're a beginner dreaming of riches or a professional with decades of experience. It listens to one thing only: price and action. And yet, over and over, most traders repeat the same mistake. They ignore discipline, they violate risk, they gamble with hope, and when the inevitable collapse arrives, they act surprised as if the result wasn't certain all along. But it was. It always is. I've seen it happen countless times: fortunes built and destroyed, confidence inflated and then crushed, and the reasons never change. Traders enter with excitement, trade with emotion, and leave with regret. They chase noise instead of logic. They trust strangers instead of themselves. They stare at the tape and then do the exact opposite of what it says. They think this game is about prediction, but it isn't. This is not a lottery of guesses. This is a business of execution. What you think does not matter. What you do is everything. If you're here for comfort, leave now. What I'm about to say won't make you feel good. It will confront you. It will challenge your illusions. Because the reality is simple. If you don't fix your habits, if you don't face the truth about why traders fail, you will become one of them. Every trader begins with excitement. Their first trade works, maybe their second too. A small win feels like a breakthrough. It feels like the code is cracked, like the secret has been unlocked. That early profit is the most dangerous teacher in the world. It whispers lies. It disguises luck as skill. It convinces you that randomness is mastery. And the result? Overconfidence. Overconfidence is a poison. It pushes you to size up too fast, to ignore structure, to abandon discipline. You think, if it worked once, it will work again. You forget that the market doesn't care about your previous success. It doesn't reward momentum of ego. It reacts only to price and action, that's all. And if you mistake luck for talent, the market will punish you swiftly, brutally, and without hesitation. I know, because I lived it. I remember my early wins. I thought I had mastered the game, but those wins were in bucket shops, not real exchanges. They were playgrounds, illusions. When I stepped into the real market, the illusion shattered. Execution was slower, spreads wider, pressure higher. My edge vanished. My capital disappeared faster than I thought possible. Not because my idea was wrong, but because I had confused arrogance for structure. Confidence without foundation is nothing but exposure, and that's the truth most traders never understand. They think the goal is to be right. It isn't. The goal is to survive. The graveyard of trading is filled with people who wanted to be right more than they wanted to last. They refused to cut losses. They clung to positions with hope instead of logic. They rationalized instead of acting. And slowly, silently, their accounts bled to death. Losses always begin small. A few ticks, a dip, a pullback. Nothing serious. And then comes hesitation. Instead of closing, the trader waits. The price moves further against them. They don't act. They hope. They scroll for news. They enlarge the time frame. They tell themselves it's temporary. But deep down, they know. They just can't admit it. And so, the loss grows. What started as a trade becomes a mistake. What should have been a small cost becomes a financial and emotional disaster. I know the pain. I once held a position beyond my stop. I had my reasons: market noise, temporary pullback, misunderstood sentiment, all lies I told myself. The result was not fiction. It was fact. I lost more in that single trade than I had made in the 5 before it. Not because the market betrayed me, but because I betrayed my own rules. A small loss is a lesson. A large one is negligence. And the only difference between them is time. Every second you delay is another second you hand your account to the market. The best traders are not those who win the most. They are those who lose the least. They cut losses quickly, cleanly, and without hesitation. They never let hope replace discipline, because they know if you can't take a small loss, the market will eventually force you to take a catastrophic one. Most traders don't even have a system. They follow feelings, they follow rumors, they follow tips, they guess, and the market has no mercy for guesses. I learned early that instincts are unreliable. What feels right today will look foolish tomorrow. But a system, a tested, refined, personal system, is your only shield against the chaos of price. Without it, every trade is an emotional decision, and emotional decisions have no edge. I've made those impulsive trades. I saw a stock move, I jumped in. No plan, no signal, just adrenaline. Sometimes it worked, but most of the time it didn't. And the worst part wasn't the losses. It was the inconsistency. I couldn't even measure myself, because I had no rules to measure against. That's when the truth hit me. Without a system, I wasn't a trader. I was a gambler in disguise. A system doesn't need to be complex, but it must be yours. It must define when you enter, how much you risk, where you exit. It must be consistent, measurable, and grounded in logic, not hope. And most of all, it must be followed, every time. You don't rise in this game by predicting the future. You rise by responding to the present with discipline. That is the edge. That is the secret. But even with a system, one enemy remains the most dangerous of all: emotion, fear, and greed, the twin destroyers of trading. Fear shows up when a trade goes against you, not because the loss is unbearable, but because the pain of being wrong is. Fear freezes your hand. It whispers, "Wait a little longer. It will reverse." But the market doesn't reward belief. It rewards action. Then comes greed. Greed appears not in losses, but in wins. A trade turns profitable, and suddenly you want more. You abandon the plan. You hold too long. You size up recklessly. What was once a clean decision turns into a storm of emotion. I've been there too. I've cut winners too early because I was nervous. I've held losers too long because I wanted redemption. Every time, the result was worse than if I had simply followed my rules. Discipline is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to act despite it. That's what most traders will never master. Another illusion: that bigger size means bigger profits. That illusion has destroyed more accounts than bad setups ever could. Risk is not about how right you are. It's about how wrong you can be and how quickly you can stop the damage. I never entered with full size. I tested. I scaled. I waited for confirmation. If the market proved me right, I added. If it proved me wrong, I cut. Protection, not hesitation. The goal was not to look brave. The goal was to last. But most traders can't sit still. They overtrade. They confuse motion with progress. They think the more they click, the more they earn. But the market does not pay you to trade more. It pays you to trade well. Patience is the edge no one wants to learn, because it feels like doing nothing. But in truth, it is everything. I learned to wait, to sit still until the setup was perfect, to let amateurs chase noise while I preserved capital. Some of my biggest wins came not from endless trades, but from a few well-timed positions held with conviction. That's the paradox. You are not paid for activity. You are paid for accuracy, and accuracy requires patience. And yet, traders chase advice from others: brokers, forums, strangers, all eager to share their opinions. But the market doesn't reward borrowed conviction. It punishes it. Every time I traded on someone else's tip, I failed. Not always because the tip was wrong, but because it wasn't mine. I didn't understand it. I couldn't manage it. I wasn't trading the setup. I was trading the person. That's not trading. That's following. And followers don't survive. You can study history. You can learn from others. But when it comes time to act, the decision must be your own. If you cannot trust your own judgment, you're not ready to risk capital. Traders know the golden rule: cut losses short, let winners run. They repeat it, they quote it. But when the chart turns red, they do the opposite. They cut the winners, they hold the losers, and they wonder why nothing changes. This is not just a slogan. It is survival. It is the line between staying in the game and disappearing. Fear convinces you to take profits too early. Hope convinces you to give losers too much time. Both are deadly. I learned the hard way. When I followed the rule, I grew stronger, my account healthier, my confidence sharper. When I broke it, the damage multiplied. Traders fail not because they don't know the rule. They fail because they cannot follow it. Jesse Livermore himself proved this. He built fortunes, then lost them. He mastered the market, but not always himself. Even the greatest trader of his era, who made 100 million in 1929 while the world collapsed, could not escape his own psychology. In the end, it wasn't the market that destroyed him. It was the battle within. That is the final truth. The market is not your enemy. Your habits are. Most traders look outward when they fail. They blame the news, the timing, the manipulation. Few look inward. Few admit that the real enemy is themselves. But that is the dividing line. Those who grow confront their own flaws. Those who don't, vanish. A loss is not failure. A loss is data. It is feedback. It tells you if your system works, if your discipline held, if you respected your own rules. Ignore that feedback, and the market will teach you again harder, costlier, and without mercy. In this business, the lessons never stop, but neither does the test. Most traders won't make it. They'll chase shortcuts, signals, secrets. But the truth has been in front of them all along. The edge is not hidden. It is simply difficult. Cut your losses fast. Let your winners breathe. Build your system. Follow your rules. Respect your discipline. Ignore your emotions. Do this, and you may survive. Break them, and you will not. The market is a mirror. It reflects what you put into it. If you put in discipline, patience, and structure, it gives back survival and maybe profit. If you put in emotion, arrogance, and randomness, it gives back ruin. The choice is yours.